Hi, and welcome to Inspired Cooking. My name's Laurie Lufkin, and as you can see, we are not in my kitchen again. It's like a traveling roadshow around here. I am in the kitchen of Mike Antel, and I hear that he is famous for his lasagna. So today, he's going to take us through the steps on how to make his famous mushroom lasagna.
What I usually do is make the filling a day in advance.
That makes sense.
And then I make my own noodles, so in order to make the noodles, I start that in advance and put the dough in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. So we'll make the filling first.
Okay.
Then we'll make the bechamel sauce, we'll put it aside, then we'll make the noodles, and then we'll come back and we'll put the whole thing together. So what you need, first of all, are 3 tablespoons of butter, some olive oil, about the same amount, and you can use an onion, I use shallot, but you can use an onion.
Right.
What I did in advance was reconstitute some porcini mushrooms.
Right.
About 2 small packages, 2 ounces. To reconstitute it, for those of you who don't know, you basically take 2 cups of water, you heat the water, you throw the mushrooms in for about a half hour, you let them steep, and then you strain them.
And this is what we come out with.
That's what you come out with. And you save the juice. So what you have to do is run the liquid from the soak-in through probably 2 or 3 times through paper towels, through a strainer, and you get this, and we have about a cup of chopped tomatoes.
Okay.
Get good tomatoes, San Marzano tomatoes.
Yep.
And then some parsley.
Okay, about, what is that, a half a cup?
Yeah, but I'm not going to use it all. I'm only going to use probably 2 to 3 tablespoons.
Okay.
So this is cooking, so you can throw this in.
Seems pretty simple so far.
It is very simple, okay? And this is kind of neat. Okay, so you put that in, and all this goes in together. Okay, you don't need to cook this for any length of time. You throw in the tomatoes.
Okay.
Throw in the parsley.
Like that much?
Yeah. Yeah, a couple, 2 or 3 tablespoons.
Yeah, 2 or 3 tablespoons.
And then the juice.
Okay.
All right. And this cooks partially covered for about 7 or 8 minutes until the liquid's just about gone.
Okay. Well, it's starting to smell good too.
All right. So the filling, the base of the filling is pretty much done. I'll hold it up so you can see it. Most of the liquid is gone.
That looks delicious already.
And now you have to take the sliced mushrooms. I used cremini mushrooms and white button mushrooms. And what I did earlier is took a food processor, a slicing blade and a food processor, cleaned the mushrooms very well, put them through the slicer, and I get essentially a pile of mushrooms like that. And then you let this cook down for 8, 9, 10 minutes maybe, and you'll know when it's done. When all the liquid is out, you'll know. But now that we've finished the first part of the sauce, the mushroom base, we're going to make a bechamel sauce. In this recipe, I'm using 2 cups of milk, which I put in one pan to heat. You don't bring it to a boil. Put it on, let it heat up, and then I take 4 tablespoons of butter for this one. I put it in the pan, okay? Have to melt the 4 tablespoons of butter, and I have 3 tablespoons of flour for this one. And I'm going to stir that, okay, probably for about a minute or 2 till it all incorporates, and then I'm going to gradually introduce the scalded milk into the butter. You want to make sure all the flour is incorporated into the butter. You don't want to leave any. And once it looks pretty good, so then I shut the gas off.
Okay.
And then we start to introduce the milk
slowly
into this slowly. So maybe like a tablespoon or 2, just to get it started. And what you'll see is it just goes right in. It just bubbles right in.
It's going to make a thick sauce.
Gets it clumpy, so you put a little more in and stir.
But the heat is off.
Right, the heat's off. So it's starting to get, can you see this? You stir it in, the clumps will come out. Can you see it? We're going to add the rest of the milk, and then you have to cook it. It's going to thicken, and when it gets to be like a syrup is when you want to stop.
So we moved over to a different part of the kitchen, and this is the pasta rolling area apparently, so that's what we're going to do. And Mike's going to explain a little bit more about the dough for the pasta too. Okay,
so earlier this morning I took 2 cups of flour, I took 3 eggs and maybe a teaspoon of olive oil, and actually put the 2 cups of flour into the processor to cheat a little bit and get it started, and obviously pour the fluid in and get the dough started. And then I kneaded it out on the granite countertop over there till I got it into a ball, put a little flour on it and wrapped it in cellophane. And you can do that for hour to 5 hours, 6 hours, it doesn't matter. And actually, the longer you keep it in there, the better it is for the dough. The dough works a lot better if you let it rest for a while. You take a little piece of the flour, of the dough off.
How big? Size of a golf ball?
Yeah, about the size of a golf ball. And then I shape it into a round.
Give it a little head start.
Yeah, shape it into a round. This has been in the refrigerator, so it's going to be a little bit tougher to do, which is fine. And then I coat it with flour because I don't want it sticking to the machine. And again, I press the flour into the round. And then you start to run it through the machine. You start on 1. The thinnest one is 7, and you go all the way to the end. So if it comes out like this, it's not too bad. What I like to do, though, is fold it.
Okay.
Okay. Fold it, put it through again. Some people put it through 3 or 4 times, depending on how you want to do it. On setting 1, okay? So this isn't bad. So we move to setting 2, we roll it through again. All the time, you feel and see if it's getting sticky. If it's getting sticky, you got to put it back in the flour. You want to get it as thin as possible.
Okay.
7 is it.
7 is the highest.
Yep.
Thinness?
You got to just make sure that there's enough flour on it because it'll stick. If it sticks,
and then it'll rip and
you wreck it. And you wreck it. So I hold the end and pull it through.
Look at that.
And then before you do anything else, I turn it back to 1. So now I've got the strip of pasta. All right. So you bring it over. I lay it down on the towel. Take a pair of kitchen scissors and cut it. You can do whatever size you want. I like this size, but it's easier to work with. And then just lay it out. And when you're all done, these are drying. They won't dry a lot, but they're drying. And when you're all done, then we boil the water and we'll cook them. And I'll explain how to do that.
So what we're going to do is put the bechamel and the mushroom together, the 2 sauces together, while we're waiting for the pasta water to boil. So we'll let Mike do this.
Okay, before we do that, it's recommended that you take a couple of tablespoons of the bechamel and just line the bottom. So you don't need a lot. A couple of shots of this like this.
And then just
spread it. And then you take the bechamel sauce and you mix the bechamel sauce right in with the mushrooms. So the water's boiling. We want to salt the water, maybe a tablespoon or 2. And then you want to take the pasta all at once, throw it in the water, and bring it back to a boil. And then, so I'm going to do this very quickly. Meanwhile, you leave the towels out. Once we get this cooked, which will be in a minute, we're going to rinse it off, put it in an ice bath if you want. I rinse it off with cold water, and then I'm going to lay each individual sheet of pasta out, and then I'm going to dry them off. So the noodles have been cooled off, they're drained, and now I'm just patting them dry.
So we're ready to start putting this delicious lasagna together. What do we do first?
First, we're going to put a layer of noodles into the bowl. Now you take the filling, not a lot, spread it out. Take a little cheese, okay? Just a little bit, you don't need a lot.
Nope.
And then take prosciutto, and you can rip it and lay it out. Now we start all over again.
Okay.
We'll put another layer of pasta on.
So let me see how you finish this off.
Okay, so I take a pastry brush. I've melted about a half a stick of butter, and I just dab it on all the way around on the top. Get it nice and wet. Now we're going to take some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Buy the good stuff. It's worth it buying the good stuff.
It is worth
this
buying
is probably
the good stuff.
the best cheese in the world, the best flavor in the world.
I would agree.
You can use it for anything. I grate it on salads and everything. It's wonderful. Anyway, so you get a grater, and this again, you don't have to be exact. Now what we do is I would put it in an oven, 375, 400, whatever you're comfortable with. I'd cover it with foil. A lot of people don't. I cover it with foil. Let it cook for about 20, 25 minutes. Take a look at it. It should start to be bubbling. And then take the foil off for 5 minutes, and you get a little bit of brown on top. Don't let it burn, but just get a little bit of brown on the edges, and then it's done.
Excellent. I want to thank Mike for sharing his delicious lasagna recipe with me, and we can't wait to have a bite. It's going to be so delicious.